Welcome to the podcast. Dude, last night I caught a taxi home. I stayed at the Buddha mic until I did the 10 o'clock Buddha mic on Tuesday. Last night at Midtown, and we ended up kicking on till like 2 o'clock. And I jumped in the taxi and I said, mate, I'm going to 83rd Street. And he ends up taking me down to 1st Street.
No, dude.
Dude, I was in this taxi for like nearly an hour.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Dude. That sucks.
It is what it is.
Did he charge you like the whole
Nah,
thing?
he only charged me till what he did it. He stopped the meter at 1st Street.
Oh, okay.
But he was a bit of a prick.
Yeah.
He was a bit of a prick. And he and then he tried to drop me off like 2 blocks from my house. I'm like, dude, this still isn't my address. Like, drop me here. And he's like, oh, you can walk. I'm like, no, you can drive me, dickhead.
Was it like a legit taxi?
It was a legit taxi, but he just must have struggled with my accent.
Oh, okay. I don't fuck with taxis. I fuck with Ubers. I never talk to them.
Yeah.
I never speak to an Uber driver. I only take Ubers when I'm like blackout drunk. And the only time I've used them like since I've been in New York is I'll be up at like 4 a.m. or something, like hammered drunk, and I'll like get on the bus and just the train, and I just don't like. It's like I have fucking sundowners, dude. Where I'll have like a moment of dementia. I like can't understand how the train system works anymore.
Yeah.
So I have to call an Uber, and I was like, and then pass out in the Uber, and then they wake me up wherever. This is the only like way that I've ever taken Ubers in the city. And I was like, oh, I have to have like a fucked rating. I looked up my rating. It's like a fucking 4.8, dude.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I don't think you deserve a 4.8 for anything.
No, dude. I think they're just like, he came in and he was so clearly fucked up and he didn't yell, or he was the best version of what a blackout drunk person is in an Uber. And they will take that.
Corey, how long have you been doing comedy for? When did you get into it?
I started in 2014. And I did it for like a year, like steady. And I started in Fort Collins, Colorado, and then I did it for I had like 2-3 months maybe there, and then I moved to Denver and did it for like a year, and then quit again. And I was like, so I moved back home, back to Wyoming for like 2 years or something like that. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go back. So I was like 25 or something like that. And I was like, I'm gonna move back to Denver. Like that was my whole plan, was to like save up money, move back to Denver. Then I moved back and I was like, I don't like stand-up anymore, I don't think.
Why? Was it just too much bombing?
No, I think I just did. I didn't know, whatever I thought I was doing, whatever I was like imitating at 23 or whenever I started, like whatever, like, because you're not a real person.
No.
You know what I mean? You just don't have, like, you're just like trying shit out. And it turned out I was right about about stand-up. Like I love stand-up. But I just didn't. I was doing like smart, like political stuff. I think when I started, and then I just slowly realized I got confused, and I was like, I hate that. I hate doing that. I like seeing other people do it, but I hate it. I hate it just feels douchey. It feels false. It's like not who I really am or whatever. And so I quit, and then I was like playing music and shit, and then I started again in 2019. So like 5 years. Steady, where I haven't stopped since 2018.
Well, you're very good. You're very impressive.
Thank you.
And your premises are really funny. They're very different. I like that you've got a little bit of a spiritual zing on everything as well. You kind of bring up a bit of your Christianity beliefs and stuff like that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I think
very different. It's really, really good. You're very, very good to watch. Very entertaining.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool to hear. But that's what I'm saying. I think that that's when I figured out who I was. That's what you do. I'm 35 now. You're like I pretty much know as well as
we're figuring it out. Yeah, I'm the same. Are you born in '89?
Yeah,
same. No, I agree. I feel the same. Like I'm starting to finally be like, all right, this is me now. Yeah. I can accept this is me, and this is a path worth walking down.
Yeah, and that's why I think that some people find out when they're younger, but whenever you find that then I think the art becomes easier. Whatever the fuck you're doing becomes easier because you're not fighting yourself on top of that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I have sort of resurrected comedy again. I did a little bit back at home, but it sort of really got into it, the swing of it here, and really gave it a good nudge. But I'm finding that it's hard. I'm trying to get into the more personal stuff now, but I'm finding that's a wall that is really hard to break.
Yeah,
because there's so much stuff I want to say, and then I read it and I'm like way too self-conscious to say it. You know, like it's like getting into the nuts and bolts of yourself and who you are and what you want to put out. But it's okay to be jokey and funny and write jokes and premises about things that you see, but about yourself is difficult. But you seem to do that really well.
Oh yeah, well it's like we were talking before, like about because I was like you know, very heavy like alcoholic and drug addict or drug user for a long time, and that really does break you of like a lot of like the like cultural programming that you might have. You know, a lot of people they go into that subculture and they kind of never come out. But if you can go there and like break those ideas about like, because you do watch yourself like being, you know, a scumbag or just like, you know, seeing like a pregnant woman smoke meth, you know what I mean? You're like, oh shit, like, you know what I mean? Like I fucked up, and so you're like, you become like hyper aware that you like that you're a fuck up, you know what I mean? In a way,
Yeah.
And then that's easy to or like. I've decided, I guess, what parts of myself I'm gonna show an audience. You know what I mean? Mostly, I'm just like, I hope I don't bum people out.
Nah. It's never. You can't bum people if you're being real and people can see you being real. You can't bum people out. It's intriguing. It's captivating. Do you have a theme to your joke writing, or what you'd like to concentrate on, or is it just whatever comes to your mind? Do you have like a motive behind any of your particular writing, and is it just really come out organically or align with things that you're interested in? Like, where do you pull your material from?
I don't know. It's because like a lot of people, I know like really great comics that are like writer, like because I think of myself more as a writer than a performer, and I just like learned how to perform because I'm like an egomaniac, and I was like, I don't want to watch other people perform shit that I wrote, you know what I mean? But they're like, I don't like get out, like there are people that like a lot of comics that like talk about like just I'll sit and write for 20 minutes a day or whatever, and I just don't do that, and I just can't. It's like which sucks in a way, but I like really what I'm motivated by is like I've relaxed into being like that I'm aware that I'm funny, that I write funny stuff. And then I'm just like, I try to keep an eye out for like, you know, saying stuff or just thinking stuff that I think is funny. And then I'm just like, I need new shit all the time. So I'm like, it's like a terror of like, because you're inevitably going to go through like spells where you're just not in the mood for writing. You just don't.
Or writing, but nothing good is coming.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing. It's like, I feel like I'm in a little bit of a lull at the moment. I've been writing. I write quite a lot. I'm lucky in that way. But the last month, struggled to pull a bit out that I'm happy with. Like I've been got up on stage and just saying half-cooked premises and then going, it's not stage, more mics. Shows are different. Shows I do the one, you know, the tried and true. But mics, I'm like struggling to pull it out. It's really amazing when you see these guys like Harrison, for example, who can just pull out a new bit every week, and when he writes it, it's like perfect, nearly first time. Like it almost needs no tweaking. It's such an art. Some guys are so gifted at the writing, but
I'll have like a dumb, I'll like, because everything I do is like I like dumb shit. I like my idea of like a perfect bit is something just very stupid that because I feel like that's like human in a way that like we're all. It's very funny that we're all like acting like we have our shit together. It's like your brain is barely functioning. It's such a miracle that this fucking thing works at all. And you're just like, and then we're all like headed toward like, we're all going to become Joe Biden. We're all going to become that like not really, like your brain is your way, you know, your way of like communicating and interpreting the world. And it's just not that good of a piece of machinery.
It's not. It's like you need to put some deep, thick filters in there to actually like go, nah, this is bullshit. Nah, I can use this. This is just a thought. Leave this. I'm not identifying with that. It's like your brain is kind of a cunt.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Like, I fucking hate my brain sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is this thought going through my head? Like, can I be less self-deprecating to myself for once, please? Can I just love myself for one day? That would be nice. Can I wake up one morning and be like, it's good to be alive, but every day I wake up, I'm like, fuck, I'm awake. Can I not just go back to sleep for a day?
No, I'm never. The stand-up helps me. Like, it does help me. Like, because I zone out, and I'm like, just like I'm just going to mics and working on and doing shows and like working on material, and then like podcasts and stuff like outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
But that helps. Like, like that's probably why I do stand-up is just because it mitigates mental health. Symptoms or whatever.
It overcomes fear. Like, it gives you the ability to silence the voice, to at least go, all right, this isn't worth paying attention to. Like, I'm just going to do this, and I'm not going to give a fuck what anyone thinks. Whereas if you don't practice that, that will just impact you in every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
For me, this has helped me really just decouple from this identity or fears and things that I've held. It's slowly allowing me to release stuff and just get into a point of life where I'm like, I actually don't give a fuck what anyone thinks anymore. Like, I do, but way less.
That was like what, like with the writing thing is like, I'm trying to like at my best or whatever. I think like I'm watching my brain as a separate entity, because I really don't fundamentally believe it to be like, I don't identify with myself. You know what I mean?
I think that's I'm getting there. I acknowledge that we're not supposed to identify with our mind, but I do find myself, I'm in the stage where I'll go through the loops, and then at the end of a mental loop, a mental thought or whatever, then there's that period where you go, okay, I'm out of it. And then I try and hold that for as long as I can, where I might try and get into my breath and just concentrate on my breath, or just enjoy the piece for a second. But then I find it's like a vacuum, you just get sucked back in again. But it's so hard to not identify with your mind.
Well, so like I'll wait and I'll just work, like I'll watch my brain or like try to watch it. And every once in a while, like my brain will say like, concocts like a theory or whatever, or an idea that is so fucking stupid, and I'll have the wherewithal to be like, stop, what was that you just said? And then try to whatever that is, which is hilarious in how like kind of dumb I am, try to and I'm good at writing, like I'm just like grammar and like sentence composition and shit.
Are you a hand writer or a typer?
Now I do shit on my phone.
Okay.
Mostly. That's like 90% of
right.
Probably more than that. It's just like I use Google Docs because I have to have everything right there. Yeah. Because my brain is dog shit, so it just won't like hold on to anything.
Yeah, I'm the same. As soon as something comes up, if I don't write it down within a few minutes, I'll just forget it. Yeah. And I'm like, I'll just be on, what did I think about? Forget
it. That's been huge, I think. I think like when I got used to like having the app, that was like probably like a few years ago. That I like, it was like, I don't know, 3 years ago or something, I started using Google Docs, and it just like completely like changed the game. And I'm not simping for fucking Google, fuck them, but it's just a good program. Like the fact that I just have, and it uploads automatically.
I use Google as well. I use Google Drive, because then I can get on my phone, I can get on my laptop. It's easy. Yeah. You just edit it and it's automatically. Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. So I did want to ask you, mate. When we first met, we had a great chat about Christianity, about spirituality, and it was something that I was like, wow, it was really beautiful what we were talking about. And I wanted to ask you, how did you get into your spiritual side and Christianity in particular? Because you haven't always been a Christian, have you?
No, I started out like I went to church when I was very young and was like probably like traumatized or whatever, where like they had, I'm like very prone to mental illness. So like when I was like a kid, they kind of told me about like it's like the stupid like evangelical, like modern American evangelical system. They'll just tell children, they're like, everybody you love is going to be possessed by demons, and like they'll tell you like a literalist like interpretation of the Book of Revelation, where like the streets are gonna be like flowing with blood and shit. It's like really dark, weird, fucked up shit to tell like a sensitive child. What
But
I
is
mean?
that even the word that Jesus was trying to preach, or is that just a shitty interpretation using fear or something in order to get people to
I
fall
think
in
it's just
line to
error.
something?
I honestly think it's like more and more. I think it's like just error where people are like, well, that was what I was taught. You know what I mean? And they didn't. And
And they haven't questioned the narrative themselves.
yeah, and I also think that like what I was going through, like where people were like we had to deal with it. Like my parents had to like take me to like a minister and like I mean I was like in like mental like forms of like mental health treatment from a very young age. I was like a very not healthy mentally kid. And so I think out of like desperation, I had to like abandon the religion entirely.
Were your folks religious?
Yeah. My dad was like my grandparents were. My mom wasn't really. She is now. She's like heavily involved with the church, and she got baptized like a year or two ago, something like that. But yeah, they're like my her and my brother and his kids, his wife and kids live all together in Montana, and they're very like yeah, they're heavy church people. But yeah, then I was like an atheist for I was like, because like that's what like rational materialism, like it just teaches you, you're like, well, I don't see the and then I basically like did a shitload of psychedelics and was like learning kind of like I was learning about like world religions or whatever, and like Joseph Campbell and shit. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
I don't know Joseph Campbell.
he was like a comparative religion like scholar or whatever. He wrote like The Hero with a Thousand Faces. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the Luke Skywalker thing. You know what I mean? Where the how we like repeat the same narratives and stuff. And I was like getting into like Buddhism a little bit and a lot of Hinduism and like Ram Dass. And then I just saw like there was like at some point I started like I was really influenced by like Taoism and Hinduism, and then I started getting into like Eastern
mysticism,
like Eastern Christianity and like Eastern Orthodox Christianity, and that like resonated with those kind of more Eastern ideas. And then it was like I saw like a bridge over, and I was like, oh well, I'm already interested in Christianity and like kind of need to like go back and like heal those like whatever the fuck happened in my youth that made me like nuts. Yeah, so like I like just jumped over into Christianity and kind of started taking that more and more seriously, and that became like my main, Well,
that would have been pretty tough having like going. It sounds like you had a pretty rough trot when you were a kid. That would have been hard. I can't imagine, because I mean, when you're a kid, that's the time where you're not supposed to have issues. It's supposed to be the time where you're having a bit of fun and not giving a shit about life and consequences. And
it was weird. But that's like if you're mentally ill, like that's you're in that. You know what I mean? You kind of don't know. I also like I had a decent youth. You know what I mean? I grew up in like Wyoming. It was like very like bucolic, like quiet and pretty. You know what I mean? Like I had a good time. It's like it's not like mental illness like totally ruins your life. It just like really a lot of it is it just freaks out people around you that they don't really know how to deal with. They're like, I can't imagine like if you're a parent and your like kid won't sleep because he's like, freaking out about demon possession and the end of the world. You're like, Jesus, like, what the fuck is this?
He's gonna be a comedian for sure.
This kid's gonna be hilarious.
I've certainly had some mental health issues, but a lot of them came when I was in my 20s, like late teens, 20s, like depression and stuff like that. A lot of anxiety. It's hard to sit through, Ben. I can't imagine what that's like as a kid, especially when you're looking around and everyone else is just happy-go-lucky and just being a fucking kid, being a dickhead.
Oh yeah, totally. Because you're not just like, I like, pretty like traumatic childhood, but it's like it's comical now because like you're separated from it in a way. But it's very funny to like the universe is very funny in that there's like a kid that's like going through like kind of a very adult like kind of stuff, and then also like being rejected by like a girl. Do you know what I mean? Like it is the worst time to have shitty things happen because the world is shitty. You know what I mean? Already as a kid, you're like fumbling through like
Yeah.
school and like social things.
I always wanted to be a grown up. Like when I was a kid, I'd always look at like what the grown ups are doing and be like, I want to do that. I want to go surfing. I want my own car. I want to do road trips. I want to, I always couldn't wait to get out of being a kid and being an adult. And then when you finally get to be an adult, you're like, oh, maybe I should have enjoyed that a little bit more. That looks pretty fun.
Yeah, no, it's weird because like it is fucked up. Does become like it's worth it now to me. Like I'm like you like once you're like because I'm not like totally healed and perfect or whatever, but it's like I'm incredibly happy. Like 90% of the time, I'm like getting better at the things I want to get better at. It's like very easy for me to like communicate with the world and empathize and make friends with people and like. And those are like hard won things. Like those are not like like those are like yeah, I wouldn't change like how that went,
Well, you can't anyway, so
Yeah.
whether you want to or not. So what's your spiritual practice now? Do you meditate? Do you go to church? What do you do? Or do you keep like jump on the psychedelic train every now and again and open those doors up like
Less and less. Like once you kind of figure like, they're a good reminder of like, oh, okay, well, like I need to, be like put back in my place. I'm sure,
kill the ego?
Yeah, or just remember it. You know what I mean? You're not really killing it at this point. Because again, you're like your ego is like the mediator between you and the world, like or in some sense.
Yeah, it's like the interpreter.
Well, and you don't have like like your ego is like your moral arbiter as well. So you're like, like, that's the thing. It's like you want to be released from the ego. You want to like separate from yourself, but that's the only thing that like makes you a decent person. You know what I mean? Is like, nope. There's not a part of you that, I mean, that's like a very Jungian thing, but there's not like a part of you that is, that you're like against or like trying to diminish. You're just trying to make it flow like harmonically or something. But I don't go to church. I'm interested in going to church. But I just do, I like pray, like it's more like meditative. I do like, I don't do like personalized prayers where people are like, and bless my mom. And like,
No.
I don't do that. I just do like repetitive, like the Jesus prayer, which is like, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. You just say that over you like the goal is to think that constantly.
That's like, is that a way of like forgiving yourself or like acceptance?
It does a lot of things. It's very bizarre, like because there's a whole book about it, like called The Way of the Pilgrim, that's like popular in Eastern Orthodoxy. But like I just started doing it because I needed some sort of meditative practice. I'm very frenetic, so it's hard for me to meditate. But just trying to remember to pray as much as as much as possible. It did like change, or it like reveals to you like what your where your like head is at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like whatever, because you can't like everybody's interpretation of Christianity is completely different just by like you're in your reality tunnel, and like thank God that like Christianity or something comports with that enough to where you can, I need to be a more conscious person because, you know what I mean?
Well, we all do.
Yeah. And be, take care of myself, be loving to myself, be loving to people around me. And Christianity, as I understand it, is an incredible tool to like help me do that.
You said something to me that night that we were talking. We were talking about spirituality, and I expressed to you that I thought that and still feel that religion is kind of the last step before enlightenment, as in, and the religion is kind of, it's real, like it's a thing, but the step above that is nothingness, nothing, no one, no thing.
Right,
and that
yeah.
can't be aligned to anything. You can't be identified to anything. But you said to me that night, you said, well, at some point you have to pick a lane.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that? Because I have in my own interpretation of that, but I'd like to know what you meant by that again.
Yeah, I think like this all sounds like weird, and I think especially
It's not weird.
like
It's not to
coming
me.
from like a shitty, dirty comedian, but like
No, dude, don't worry about it.
but the like so like what I would like say that I was like engaged in is like I think mentally ill people that take a bunch of psychedelics, you're doing something like shamanic, or you're going through some kind of, and so the people that I was reading or whatever, and the kind of like, you know, spiritual systems that I was like investigating or whatever, there was a point where it's like, hey, you like it like, not like a series like you have to pick a lane or whatever. It's just like it becomes like when you're at a certain point, it just becomes obvious where you're like, oh, okay, like taking something seriously is a part of my spiritual growth. And like saying to people out loud, like, I am a Christian, and committing to that, you know what I mean? And being, and like being sincere. I think that's a really difficult thing, especially for me, because I am a very like funny, silly dickhead, you know what I mean? And then, so it's very like, especially early on, very kind of embarrassing to be like, there's this part of my life that I take as seriously as you can take anything, you know what I mean?
Well, it's only embarrassing because you're worried about what people think. It's not. I guess there's nothing embarrassing about it.
No, I mean, now it's awesome because like I'm used to it, and now it's like it's cool because I like talk to comedians and kind of out myself right away, and then they'll start talking to me about Christianity or spirituality or something. So it's cool. Like it's a way, and they're like, there's something about that, like, because you're kind of immediately being intimate with people in a way that, you know, is like kind of uncommon or whatever. And to me, that's just like those are much cooler relationships, I guess. You know what I mean? Because like in stand-up, you can just kind of float around and have like these like acquaintances or whatever. And even in that, even like people that you hang out with like kind of consistently in stand-up, I mean, the scene moves around, people quit or people move to a different city or whatever. And you just have like, if you have that extra like deepening, even though it's not like, you know, we're not like best buds or whatever, but at least we like know each other in a deeper way. And I think that's cooler.
Oh,
You know
it's
what I
cool
mean?
as shit. I'm always more drawn to people that I connect with deeply, always.
Yeah.
They're always the guys that I will associate with and care for more and love more than others, because you've got something in common. You've got a brotherhood in a way.
Yeah.
Connections are everything. So going back to the mental health stuff, what is like a couple of things that you've done, or a few things in your toolkit that have really helped? You know, has the prayer been one? Has it been a you know, manifesting? Has it been you know, when a negative thought comes into your head? What's a sort of something that's in your toolkit, the way that you've sort of dealt with those things and just been able to rise above?
I read a lot of books. I read Robert Anton Wilson. He is like a kind of a pseudopsychologist, but he's very funny. He's like the George Carlin of pseudopsychology. But he talks about like kind of like dismantling your own like reality tunnel, your own map of how reality works. And I think doing that helped me like get out of a lot of like the mental illness, or not identify with it as much, and be like, oh, I can actually like, I can actually kind of shove things into this tunnel, whether, you know, and that'll change my reality. Like it will, like doing stand up is like a lot of doing stand up for me is just you're kind of like crushing reality into your own shape where you're like, no, I'm like, you're gonna laugh at what I'm saying, you know what I mean? And it, like when you first start, that seems insane, you know what I mean? And then you can like when you get too good at it, you can like, and it's a repeatable thing. Then you're like, and that's what now my whole life is. My entire life, like it went from, you know, being kind of just a normal idiot or whatever to like this is all I think about, you know what I mean? This is like my full-time like pursuit or whatever. It's a completely different I grew up in Wyoming. I live in fucking New York City now. You know what I mean? You're like, and I watched a bunch of people, artists and otherwise, that just accepted their reality, and they, you know what I mean? And we're like, I guess I'll just make the best of this.
I think that's everyone. Like I know lots and lots and lots of people. I mean, even my father, like I love him completely, but you know, he's always like, you know, well, you gotta, you know, he's got that old school mentality, you know, that boom mentality where you had to work and I mean, everyone has to work. I understand that, but you've got to do the traditional 9 to 5. You've got to get a job. You've got to support your family. And when you have that mindset, it really limits you to what you feel like you can do, because it ends up making you feel like you need to be in this box that everyone else has put themselves in. That rat race, that just never-ending cycle.
Yeah.
Monday to Friday, 9 till 5.
But that, like, that's the thing, is I think it's the same thing. Like, I realize more and more, like, there's like a way you think about comedy is you're like, oh, it's this crazy thing. Well, the more you get into it, especially like if your goal is to be a professional comedian, it's all work, all
it's a job. It's right.
Not that it's like but like you see like somebody that's like into that's like a real estate mogul or whatever. They talk about their job. You're like, oh, you're jazzed about this.
Yeah,
you love this shit.
I think that's where I'm more getting at is like, the norm is to accept less than what you think you deserve or less than what you feel you're capable of. And accepting that is okay because that's just what you have to do. And that's the narrative that I've always questioned. And that's made me very uncomfortable, very unhappy, I would say, for most of my working life, where I've really enjoyed my work. I love all my boys at home, like all the guys from construction back at home that are listening to this. I love them. They're fucking amazing. And I'm so glad I did that. But I always felt like I'm not doing what I want to be doing. And I think that's the problem, where there's not like enough emphasis on, like me and Joe were talking last podcast about how people finish school, high school, and then they're supposed to pick their degree, know what they're going to do at 17, and then pick a career. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy.
I thought I was going to be an English teacher. I was like, I hate children. I hate teaching. I'm not a fan of English, really, even. I just didn't. I was like, yeah, I'll do this. And I dropped out of community college. Best decision. There's another comic in Denver, Nick Dean, who's fucking hilarious. And he dropped. I tell him this every time I see him, but he dropped out in 9th grade.
Wow.
And I'm always jealous. I'm like, dude, you're the smartest person I know. Like, that was such a G move, dude. Like, I can't believe I stuck it out through high school. What a stupid.
Although high school was fun.
High school's fun. It's
but it, like, I did a trade. It was, I could have dropped out in year 10 probably and been fine. But, yeah. I never went to college. All my siblings went to college, and God, it looked fun. Especially in America. Like, you guys really know how to make college fun. You guys have it's crazy. You got the whole sorority culture, and it's complete. It's a wild thing. I was straight into the workforce.
Yeah, I've just done a shitty job. I've done I cooked for a long time. I did like natural gas pipelining. I've done that was fucking cool. I like, because that was like a real, like, those dudes work, you know what I mean?
I've worked on gas plants, construction of gas plants.
Like, I remember getting there and being like, they're like first day, they're like, you have to dig like a 4-foot deep like hole, and I was like,
by hand?
No, with like a shovel.
They don't have an operator there?
It was like right next to people's houses, so it was like, it
Gotcha.
didn't make sense.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
you too many services around. That, yeah, they.
and it's very funny to be like an adult, be like, I don't know how to dig a ditch. Like, yeah, dude, you have to learn how to like, and I just did like I didn't know how to like really work.
Dude,
hard. You know what I mean?
I had to get taught how to use a shovel when I started my apprenticeship. They're like a crowbar and a shovel. I was like, I didn't know what I was. I just tried to like push the shovel in the ground. And my boss was like, nah. You got to break it up with the crowbar, and then you got to sort of lever the shovel on your knee and like sort of, and then
yeah, dude. There's a like I left that job. I didn't work there for very long because I quit it to do stand up. But I quit. I came in with zero experience, and when I quit, the owners of the company were both like, dude, we will pay you, like, we will give you like this much of a raise, like we'll give you your own crew, you can like be a foreman. And I was like, I loved it. I did enjoy the job, you know what I mean? But I was like, fuck, I just really want to do stand up.
There's something good about blue collar jobs for men.
That's
like
what I was
physical
saying.
jobs.
Like,
I think men,
it's the best.
It's really good for us. Like on construction sites, when you see these guys working, like I'm going to refer to the electrical trade because that's what I know, but these guys are professionals. Like they know what they're doing and they love what they're doing, but they're working with their hands and it's just, men are really suited for that role. Not all men, but
not all. But I was also like kind of a feminine, like write poetry guy, and it turns out I was into it. You know what I mean? Where I'm like,
likewise,
now, like it's cool because I now walk around like in the world, and I'm like, I think about like where gas lines and electrical lines are like flowing through the city, and you're like, that's amazing. Like, and people, I think generally don't think about it.
No.
And it's like, it is wild.
It gives you a different perspective, like with everything that's happening in Palestine, like how I think they've wiped out like what 80% of the housing there now. I don't know the exact number, but it's like 70 or 80%. It's flat, and I just having a construction background, I'm like, these poor cunts. Like, does anyone know how long it takes to build a fucking building? Like, dude, that place is going to take 30 years to get rebuilt, even if they have 1,000 crews.
Yeah,
like,
if we have the best, that's the best case scenario.
Exactly. It's that. I'm
it's
like,
a generation.
You've just blown a fucking building down in a second, and that will take 18 months to rebuild. And that like one building
without and we're like in the US, like we have like a real infrastructure, especially like New York, because I worked in Maine for a while, and like all this shit is like old. So all this infrastructure, we have to like work around it in this really shitty way. So everything's all fucked up and outdated and weird here.
And that's always the hardest thing in any blue collar job, is merging the new with the old and trying to get the systems to work together. It's a fucking ball ache.
Oh yeah, dude. And then, like, so like out west, all that shit's like kind of new, especially like Wyoming. They're like, they have coal and shit, so they're like new money, you know? So they're like, you know, like those guys are having a ball because they're getting the best technology. The land is the land is open, so they're not crammed on top of each other. You're not dealing with, tech from fucking 70 years ago that you have to comport your bullshit to. Like it's a fucking, it's interesting.
It certainly is. So how long have you been in New York for?
Since July.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're fresh.
Oh yeah,
you're fresher than me. I'm June.
June, yeah. I came here tail end of June. I was like to 27th or 28th of June.
Shit, man. Did you know any of the boys before you came, or
those guys? No, no. I met them all. Yeah, I met them all.
True, man. I thought you'd been here for a while.
No, dude. I just met them. Like I fucking have learned in stand up that it's probably the same with anything, but like, when you find the people that get you or that you get along with, you know what I mean? You fucking just hang out with them. Like, you know what I mean? I know that there's places in this city that would not like me. I don't go there because, you know what I mean?
I've been to plenty of places that I'm like, I'm not going back there. There's just, if you get a bad vibe to a room, you're like, nah, I'm not going back. And there's a lot of clubs here that do the mics that they've kind of got their own little clique of boys, and like, those boys will just kind of laugh at their own clique of boys, but kind of not give anyone else pay anyone else any attention. And like, I'm kind of guilty of it too. Like, if I like you, I'll listen. If I don't really know you, or maybe not think you're that funny, that not necessarily, but if I don't really know you, I'll oftentimes pay as much attention to those people.
Totally. No, it's always a relief when you like meet someone, because usually you meet people. Dude, I was on tour with a dude. We had been doing shows together for like a while, like me featuring for him in like I guess the west of the Rockies or whatever. But I remember one time we were doing a show, and it was like right before the show, and I was like putting together my set and having trouble with it. You know what I mean? I was like, I just wasn't like feeling my shit at the time, which is crazy because I had a great set that night. But I was like, I just wasn't feeling it at all. You know, we'd been drinking for 2 weeks. You know? And but I was like, hey, what's a bit of mine that you like that I, you know what I mean? Maybe like that you haven't heard. And he was like, have no idea what you do. And we're like good friends, and we've been touring together. And he's like, I really don't listen to what you do.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, which is kind of a compliment.
It is, because he trusts you completely.
Yeah, he's like, I trust you, and also you're not here because of that. You're here because you're a good hang.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'll actually take that more than, you know.
That to me has been the best part about comedy. The shows are number one. I love the shows. I used to hate them. Now I fucking love them. It's almost like I'm addicted to it. It's like a drug.
Yeah,
I love it so much. But the hang with the boys is the best.
The hang is insane. Dude.
It's so good. It's the best hang. Like sometimes I'm like, this can't get any better. I've been laughing for 2 hours straight, like just nonstop, and with these absolute dickheads that just are so fucking funny, and we're just having the best time. And I don't know. It's something that you can't explain until you're in it. I don't know, but it's once you're here, it's.
Did you do how long did you do stand up before you came here?
I did it for a bit over a year at home, but it was very very sparse, sporadic. It's the opportunities. Maybe a bit longer than that, but the opportunities. Like I was working a lot, and I was getting on maybe a mic once a month or something, and there's just not the same. Like here, you can do 5-6 mics in a day like that. There, like it's kind of at that point. That was about 3 years ago. That was it was different. There was really one major comedy club in Brisbane, and some people were just doing rooms every now and again, but I wasn't in the clique. I only knew a few people, and it was very cliquey as well. But no, I really tell people I started doing comedy in June, because I did that, and then I went traveling for over a year, and then worked for a year and didn't really do it again in that time. So it was like I had a really long break. So I really relaunched.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm happy. When I started here, I was so bad when I got here in June. Like I wasn't getting laughs. I was going up just bombing for about 6 weeks. I just sucked. But now, like I did a show on Monday. I did a show at Gotham, and honestly, man, it was the best show I ever had. Like the laughs were just roaring laughs, and there was, you know, when you get the first laugh, and then it's sort of. Then you get the second wave of laugh, and you sort of, because the pose or the expression that you have when you say your punchline, like you might be like that. Yeah. You kind of have to hold it because you don't want to cut your laugh, so you've got to hold that. And I felt awkward because I was just holding that for so long. Like I was like, that was the first time I was like, whoa, okay, this is a new beast now. This is what I want. Like if I'm getting this, I know I'm good. Right. Even the manager comes up to me after and he goes, mate, that was bloody fantastic. Well done. Yeah. And I was like, and because we have so many losses, man. Like there's so many kicks in the cunt here doing this game. And when you just have a win like that, you're just like, you know what? I want to enjoy this. I just want to, I want to ride this high for a night.
I'll stop doing comedy for days after like a really good set. You're just like, fucking don't. I let me just ride, because like then you do a set after that because you're like, I'm the best at comedy, and you bomb, and you're like, fuck, well, I ruined that high.
It must be a great feeling though, like the guys that are professionals that are doing like rolling from 3 to 4 shows a night, but they're getting that consecutively every show. That must be, I cannot wait to get to that level.
No, it's insane. I just got back, so I like came here with like a bunch of like years of material from Denver, And I was just like I gave myself like a 6 weeks grace period of just doing my old shit, doing my old A material.
Just to get,
Yeah. Well, and also like I didn't want to. I was like, I don't want to come here and just start bombing. That'll hurt too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And why do that? I worked on this material for years. You know what I mean? Like, let me, because I knew I was getting rid of it. I knew I was going to be done with it. You know what I mean? Or most of it. Which at this point it's like all of it. Like I don't do anything that I was
film a special or something. You should try and actually do something with it. Like to actually just like celebrate it before you drop it completely. Like put it out there.
Yeah, I might try to do something with it. Because it was a good like act or whatever. I had, you know, but I was also like a lot of it was I was just changing as a comedian. So I was like, so anyway, I knew I was gonna get rid of this shit because I was like, I want it to be hard right when I get here, and then it'll be easy. You know what I mean? If I try to like push the pain of restarting away, then I'm just gonna be fucking stuck here longer and longer. You know what I mean? Spinning my fucking wheels. So I just started like, so there was like a 6 week grace period where I was like, it would just, I'm killing it. I'm a great open mic. Also, like, yeah, you're a feature act, dumbass. Like you should, of course, you should be doing well at open mics. You've been doing this for 5 fucking years.
Also, you're figuring the city out like that. It took me a couple of months just to know where the mics are, know some of the hosts that are doing the mics, know where to go, like know what's on what night and which are the good ones to go to. So it's kind of like you're not as relaxed and it's too much shit. It's way too much shit to like put on yourself. So it was actually really smart to do that. Like, hey, dude, just do your material like that works. Fuck around for a while, and then you can do the you can get rid of it or whatever, and start again. And then when I got started getting rid of shit, there was like a month that was just hell, dude. It's like I hated it. It was like it's so fucking painful, dude. It's so painful, and you going up knowing that it's going to be painful. Like I like last night I did new premises last night, and I did like 6 new premises and 2 got a laugh, 4 got nothing, like crickets. So it's like you finish that little bit and you're just like silence. You're like, okay, moving on.
Anyway,
the funnest thing I've learned though is just acknowledging it. So now when I bomb, I'm just like, what I say, I'm just like, that was shit. Like, that was a shit joke, and then you get a laugh from that. It's just like acknowledging it is, I found, is quite a powerful thing.
Totally.
And I think even doing that on shows is a good thing too. Like if you do a joke, it's go, I thought that was going to land. Oh, look, if you do a joke about Viagra, it's obviously not a Viagra crowd. Like it's just, I think there's something therapeutic in acknowledging the pain or the bomb, or just at least allowing yourself to sit in it. When people like just try and quickly move straight to the next bit and not sit in it for a little bit, I don't know.
I did a fucking guest spot like a month in, and I was just doing my old A material, and that was the other thing about like getting rid of the material. Is like that material was written and developed like in Denver. There are different like unknowable like tastes or whatever, or so that shit wasn't working great. You know what I mean? It was good for an open micer, but it just wasn't. It didn't operate at the level here that it did in Denver. In Denver, like, because you just get used to people's vibes or whatever, and so you cater to those vibes whether you realize it or not. You know what I mean? And out here is a different which I don't want to get into like how and why it's different. It just is different.
It is, of course, it's different. It's a different city, different people, different religion, different mix. Different political
culture. Yeah,
it's very. Is where you're from, like Denver? Is that a lot more right?
No. So I'm from Wyoming, which is kind of libertarian conservative.
Okay.
And then Denver is pretty less. It's okay. You don't meet a lot of like Republicans there. There are obviously like people. The thing is that there's people with money. People with money are often Republicans. Obviously, like we're left. It's a lefty town, and it's right next to Boulder, which Boulder is like crazy left. You know what I mean? That's like fucking hippie. It's like trust fund hippies. It's very hilarious. Like if you're not talking to them, it's very hilarious to see what Boulder's like from the outside. Those people are infuriating. Like it's
Really?
yeah.
Is that where like a lot of Mormons lives?
No, that's Utah.
Okay.
Utah is like the state. It's connected to, or it borders Colorado on the west side,
Right, right.
and Wyoming borders on the north side.
Okay. Did you ever was that like a land when there was like the native Indians and stuff around there?
Oh yeah.
What do you know what tribes they were?
Like a bunch. Like where I grew up, it was like Lakota Sioux, Cheyenne, Crow, I guess. But yeah, like I grew up in like the Black Hills, which is like the Sioux Holy Land. It's like
Wow.
yeah, it's gorgeous. It's crazy.
I bet
like,
it
it's like I spent my whole like childhood like hanging out indoors, getting fucking drunk with my shithead friends, and you just have like the most beautiful scenery in the world, like right next to you.
Wow.
You're like,
I can't wait to travel more of America.
it's
I
the
can't wait to
coolest
start
fucking place.
touring for comedy and just seeing everything.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, dude. That's the other thing I think about like stand up is like I wasn't like in a position where I could really like go out and like I did a little bit like on the road. We would try to find like shit to do or whatever. But there's just like it's insane how big this place is, and you just
And it's so diverse. It is so diverse. Like
Yeah.
from what I mean, I don't know for a fact, but just from what I've seen and heard and people from different areas, like there's a lot of differences between states.
oh yeah.
You've got left states and right states, blue states, red states. You've got religious, certain, Christianity more,
Yeah.
and more, New York's very Jewish, and it's pretty wild, man. It's like nowhere else. It's really like no other country in the world that I've been to.
Yeah, it's
Not even close.
It's like mixed class, like yeah, it's a bizarre place. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it's like a lot of it is just like the luck of being born here is crazy because you're like all the art that encompasses that the world is like ingesting on mass is your culture. It's like it's American culture, so it's like. It's very easy. There's like like a cultural privilege to being raised here, where you're like, oh, the language of mass entertainment media is my language. It's how I talk the same way that like like Quentin Tarantino and I have the same fucking accent. I mean, his is weirder. I'm just trying to like come up with an example of like a creative person. But like when you like, but yeah, it's like I didn't have to fucking. I don't have a passport.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Have you not left the country?
I went to Mexico for like a day.
It doesn't count.
That
No, it does. It does. No, Mexico is very different. I spent 6 weeks in Mexico before I came here in June, and shout out to Mexico. That's a fucking great country, man.
Yeah,
I love Mexico. The food is so good.
Yeah,
the surf is incredible. The people were so kind. I got stuck in this little surf town called Nexpa, and there's no internet or very little internet. There was someone had one of he brought one of those Elon Musk's dishes. What are they called? The
the Starlink.
Starlink. He brought Starlink, so we had that. But there's not even you can't even book a hotel or an Airbnb in this town. You have to go there and just go, hey, have you got a room?
Yeah,
and it's just like tiny little town, beautiful wave out the front, untouched. I mean, those places are really hard to find.
Yeah. No, we've ruined everything. That's the thing. Like,
we have. Go to the Gold Coast, man. You'll see it. It's like you're surfing. It's just like skyscrapers everywhere. It's like or Byron Bay. Like I love Byron. It's beautiful, but you have to pay to even park your car at a beach. Like that to me is.
No, we're demonic in a way. It's a very, that's the thing. Like people like. I think with people, because people like are like hypercritical of the United States, which fair or whatever, but they're like when people are like, and I understand what they mean when they're like America was never great or whatever. It's like I know I like what you're saying, like the like things have been politically shitty and like oppressive and all that, but it's like the idea that like this country didn't create like that like the blues didn't come out of here. That we like that the greatest like art ever in the history of mankind came out of this fucking
It's
place.
undeniable. And when you hear, I was talking to this about the boys last night. You can meet someone and be like, I'm a comedian. I'm gonna, I want to be a professional comedian. I want to be an actor. I want to be an artist. And no one here will say boo. No one will go, oh, you can't do that. That's silly. Like, you've got to go get a job. No one.
Yeah.
Here, like, people are like, dude, fucking go for it. Just do it. There's like the arts and creativity is, it's like nothing else. And it's awesome. If you want to do anything creative, like, this is the country to do it. And New York especially, it's just insane. You walk past this, you see models, you see actors, you see comics, you just see everything. Like,
yeah, it's crazy to criticize it. Like,
the only thing I think you can criticize is just America's warmongering over the
that's
where.
Yeah, we're out of our minds.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah. There's about like we don't have like a great like rational social. We're not rational here. You know what I mean? I think that's but the thing is like there's like we can't understand like a middle ground and shit. We're like, well, and I think really is like most people just haven't traveled. Like if you travel a lot, you're like, okay, we need to. We're not going to be able to like make like blanket changes to how this place works. There's just people are there's too many different cultures in this country. You can't like act like fucking. You can't make people in Portland act like people in Indiana. It's just it becomes obvious and stupid when you've traveled enough.
See, I don't think you would have that in Australia. I mean, I know you don't. Like everyone is it's very similar from state to state. There's not really a lot of differences. But yeah, here it is. It's very different from what I mean. I haven't traveled a lot of the US, but just from the people that I've met, there's a lot of differences, and it's great. I mean, if we're all the same, it's kind of dull.
Most people just need to. I think that really like what it is like there's a lot of like problems with like mass media addiction, and people are just like, it's like you're making yourself mentally ill. You need to stop like watching shit.
Yeah,
because you like it's like you don't have the immune system to be able to like work with this. You know what I mean? You need to like the idea of like a 19-year-old like have like watching like 24-hour news or whatever. It's like, dude, don't do that.
No,
like, that ain't for you. It's really not for anybody, but it's especially not you.
No, that's been one of the best things I've done is actually just switch off from all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
I try and just stay in my lane now when it comes to. I watch a little bit of political stuff, but maybe 10 minutes a day of like independent podcasts. Is a lot of like American politics. Because the American politics is so fascinating. When you're not from
it's entertaining
here,
as hell.
It's so entertaining. Oh man.
but that's the thing is like most people like they think that it's real in a way that it's like it's just not. It's not real in that way. Like it's it's just not real. It's a lot of like scam artists that are trying to make money off of like being. You imagine being like a fucking senator and you're just like, yeah, but what do you do? No, well, I can't really do anything because the Democrats are blocking. And you're like, so you didn't do shit. Yeah. They're just raising money on that. Like, sweet gig, dude.
And it's all corrupt. Like, how many? There was a report that came out 2 years ago or something, or 3 years ago, and it was the amount of the equivalent of like insider trading. There was like. 70 or 80% of the senators had stocks and shares in like weapons manufacturing companies and all these companies that they're giving government grants to. Like the whole cycle that shouldn't be allowed. Like that's got to be a version of corruption.
I think that's the thing is like, dude, like all like people that were, because I used to be, like I said, like when I started, I was a like douchey political comedian or whatever. So I was like obsessed with that shit. But like when you're like, whatever, fucking 20 years ago, we were like, yeah, Dick Cheney owned fucking, it was like on the board for Halliburton and fucking like
I wonder why he wanted to go to Iraq.
Yeah, what are the odds
What
that he wanted to
invested
go to
interest did he have?
He'd probably just freedom. He probably just wants freedom.
I really want those Iraqis to be free. I'm gonna push freedom and democracy on them.
Yeah.
And kill 1 million of them, and then then they will be free.
Because Dick Cheney is a helpful guy. So that was 20 fucking years ago. So I think that's the thing that like what's annoying about it, like the political system, is you constantly have new groups of people that are uneducated and they're dumb and they're like, hey, is this a scam? You're like, yeah, it's a scam. We've been through that.
Yeah.
This is like, these people are fucking demons and they fucking like, we can't keep doing this every 4 years and just have to explain the scam of American democracy to another group of like bushy-tailed 18-year-olds, you know?
Yeah. It almost is the definition of madness, the political system. It's just this 4-year cycle that...
I mean, it kind of works weirdly.
It does.
As fucked up as it is, it kind of works fine. You know, like, not perfect, but it's like we don't have like, you know, we don't have like a lot of, I mean, shit gets bad, you know what I mean? But it's not as crazy. Like, people are catastrophize in this country a lot more than it's like, we don't have like domestic terrorism problems, really. You know what I mean?
You've just got just white boys that haven't been laid in a while.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. And then people are like Nick Fuentes is like fucking trolling on the internet, and people are like, we need to burn down this motherfucker's house. You're like, he's not sending mail bombs, motherfucker. Why don't we just like take it easy, dude? Yeah. Like, it's not that big of a deal. You need to...
What's your view on the healthcare system? Because that's a big interest, especially coming from Australia. I guess if you've come from England and Europe, where that's probably one of the biggest things from an outsider. We look into America and go, it's kind of fucked you don't have free healthcare. Like, that's kind of the one human right everyone should have. Totally. You should be able to know that you're going to get looked after if something happens.
Yeah, we should have free healthcare. I do think that. Unfortunately, like, I really have lost faith in like the government to really be able to do anything efficiently, like the U.S. government. I think other governments, because they maybe have like a different kind of culture or whatever. But again, like, we just, like, anything that we do, we are kind of vulnerable to, like, you know, like, why the fuck is Pfizer advertising on fucking MTV? That's crazy. You know what I mean? But they're just like, but we're just vulnerable to these fucking like scam artists and these like psychos, which to me, I see it as it's funny and fun that we live in a nation full of insane people. But you can't just like hand the healthcare system over to these people and be like, yeah, I'm definitely going to, like, these people can treat my diabetes. You know what I mean? Like, they're just, it would be awesome to have free healthcare. My healthcare is dog shit.
Dude, if I got really injured here, I would be getting on a plane back home. I'd be
totally.
I would die on the plane. I'm not copping a 20 grand or 30 grand or 100 grand bill.
It's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah.
It's like if you just like buy insurance on your own, it's like $1,000 a month, like on the cheap end.
Jesus Christ.
It's fucking crazy. And the thing is, you just have a bunch of uninsured motherfuckers like rolling around. It unfortunately, we're not grown up enough to like do something like that here. You know what I mean?
I think now that RFK is going to be sort of managing that side of things. Maybe something could come. Like, he seems to be pretty pro. I mean, he seems to be wanting to clean up the agricultural sector and get rid of a lot of the pesticides and herbicides and
I think there's a lot of like I always take the Jackson Brown.
Yes. The artist?
Yeah.
I grew up listening to that. My dad would always play Jackson Brown.
He's the best. He's great.
Amazing.
But he said, because I'm a very like pessimistic person, and I do like see why people hate this country or whatever. But he said, he always said, I'm hopeful as a motherfucker. So I'm very hopeful. I agree with that. I'm very hopeful that we could like, just because it is such a fucking rad place. And like,
it's rad.
I've had like, I'm 35. I've had like 15 different lives. You know what I mean? Where there's like living as a kind of completely different person.
I can agree to that.
And I've met so many fucking like decent people here, like people that are born and raised here, like immigrants. I fucking one of the best shows I ever did was it was during the pandemic in Oregon at a winery. And this fucking Cuban dude owned the place and just like was just feeding us fucking wine, just like the happiest dude I've ever met in my life. And you're like, yeah, dude, like more of that. Like, you know what I mean? Who lives, you know, on a vineyard in the middle of fucking Oregon.
Geez, that sounds all right.
Yeah, yeah.
So have you got any shows coming up?
Not right now. Today I have to go host an open mic.
Yeah.
No, but we'll go listen to my podcast, Time Trap, with me and O'Shea Bogus. He had to go visit his family, so we're on a hiatus. But there's plenty of episodes up for people to listen to.
Time Trap, is that on Spotify?
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Cool. And what's your Instagram?
At Corey J Cooley, CoreYJCooley.
Cool. I'll chuck it on the. I'll chuck that link for that in the podcast on the. On my podcast.
Yeah, if you like this conversation, you might not like Time Trap. It is a pointless exercise in bad taste.
There's nothing wrong with that, mate.
But it's fun.
And I wanted to ask you, if you've read a lot of books, if you could recommend 3 books for people to read if they're interested in getting into more spirituality, enlightenment, or religion, or anything like that, anything that may help people, what would you suggest?
Okay,
and I'll put them in the link below, in the description below.
Prometheus Rising by Robert Anton Wilson. That's like about like psychology and like his pet theories, which were like he like worked with like Tim Leary and stuff, like psychedelic psychology. Very cool, very interesting stuff. It's like a textbook. He does like exercises in the ends of chapters and stuff. Siddhartha by Herman Hesse, or Hesse, I forget how you pronounce his last name. But that's like fiction. It's like a spiritual fiction about like a Buddhist monk. It's just fucking awesome. It's like one of the best things I've ever read. And then for like spiritual stuff, Diary of a Drug Fiend by Aleister Crowley. That's a very good book. It's very like people like think Aleister Crowley is like you know, like a demon or whatever. It's a fictional book it's a novel that he wrote about. It's like semi-autobiographical about him and his girlfriend getting addicted to heroin and cocaine. But it's like it's great. It really I read it when I was in high school, and it like changed the trajectory.
Wow. Did you ever read the book A Million Little Pieces, or A Million Glass? I think it's called A Million Little Pieces.
Yeah, who's like that?
James Frey, I think it was.
Yeah,
that was a cool book. It was about a guy that went. It was a fictional book, but he went into a rehab facility, and his process of getting out of it. But it was beautiful. It was very poetic.
Hell yeah!
When people go through the trauma, they and come out the other side.
Yeah,
there's something in it.
Yeah, and I think there's
little bits you can pluck from there and go, okay.
Yeah, and I think that kind of set me up toward like being interested in reading other like weird esoteric shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously just read the like spiritual text. The Tao Te Ching is like fucking great. It's that probably like that's incredibly like influential.
Okay.
The Bible, obviously.
That's a tough one. That's a big boy.
The Bible? Yeah. Oh yeah. I struggle with that. I'm not very good. I'm not very good about reading. But yeah, especially like the Old Testament is very hard to. It's like going through like what clothes that rabbis are supposed to wear, and like how the very like OCD level like preparation of garments that you wear for like it's
really
okay. It's insane. Yeah, like the New Testament is very short, kind of relative, and it's like like the Gospels are all like kind of the same story retold, with like different parts.
I downloaded the audio book for the Bible, and it's like 90 something hours. I got like an hour in. I'm like, I think this is crazy. I'm never going to get through this in my lifetime. I think I'd rather read it as well.
Yeah, I just have to pick it because it doesn't like the idea that you have to like read it. It wasn't written in that order. You know what I mean? And people like didn't have this whatever 66 books. They had different versions of it. So just pick a book and read it, and whatever, you know what I mean. There's a million ways to fucking like go through like how you interact with it. Like if you want to go into like the like literary study of the Bible or blah blah blah, you know.
Well, Corey, thanks, man.
Yeah,
It's been an honor.
Hell
Awesome. Well, let's do this again.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Thanks for coming on.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Thanks, guys. See you in the next one. Hey, guys. Thanks for listening to this episode of Going After It with Cam Bird. Produced by Ryan Rizzuti and music by the very talented Brian Rigby. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe, and remember to hit that notification bell. Take care, everyone, and if you can, get after it.